Hey, so how's everybody doing? This is Mike with Loudwater Outfitters. Obviously, most of you already know what we do here is try to assist families in missing persons and cold cases as much as humanly possible. And we'll never charge a family a dime. We run strictly off of donations. Biggest thing that I can ask is if you're going to watch this, make sure you follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. That's what helps us grow. Not necessarily to help us, but it helps us grow. And when we grow, I'm able to get these messages out to a broader, wider audience. And it's already within the past month, we've helped locate or assisted in locating 10 different missing individuals and get them reunited or get the answers for that family. So the case that we're doing today is in reference to Alexis Ware. The interview that I'm about to air is between me and her mother. I use my platform to allow these family members to get on there and get their message out, right? I'm an unbiased, neutral opinion. We're not looking for suspects. We're not looking to basically hold this court in media attention. What I'm looking for is to give them the opportunity to get their message out so that it can be spread and so that somebody with that little bit of information that they may not even think is even relevant to this case can reach out. And it could be the difference between getting not only this case solved, but other ones along with it. I want to make it as clear as possible. The only thing I am concerned with is finding these missing loved ones. All these cases we work, the main theme that I'm getting from basically every family that we talk to is they just want more done. Again, law enforcement does what they can do. Sometimes they're stretched so thin that they can't get into it or they can't devote all that time into one case. It's a little different with me. I am able to do everything that I can to help bring awareness to that case, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Not with just this case, but any case that we come across. This is an area that we are going to try and end up going to search. I've got people working on trying to get in touch with the landowner now to ensure that that's okay, that they don't have a problem with that. Again, we use side scan sonar. We've got access to different organizations with cadaver dogs. We've got drones. We've got everything. If I don't have it, or if it's not been donated to, if it's not a piece of equipment, I will work towards fundraising to get that piece of equipment. If we're not going to be able to get it within time, then I'll reach out to organizations that already have it and see if they would be willing to help, most of which are. But what I want to say is, again, we're not blaming anybody in any case that we take for anything. We're not accusing anybody of anything. We're just simply relaying the messages that we are told in hopes that it gets us closer to finding somebody's location. So that's what we're all about. If you know something, say something.
When she went missing, I was not myself. It happened 10 days after I had some surgery. I had surgery on the 20th of January. And so, you know, when she was here that weekend, I knew she wasn't in her right frame of mind. She was worried about something happening to her. And so a lot of things took place that weekend that I felt like I dropped the ball on. She was talking about zodiac signs, and she was talking about people following her. And when I think back on it, I feel like all that had done took place, and it played a role in her disappearance. The reason why I say it played a role in her disappearance is because her son's father, it seemed like he tried to create an alibi for himself, told me some of the things that was happening with her was happening to him. I've given Detective Fowler this information, and it's like they don't really believe she's missing. Like she just needed a break from her life. And I said in the beginning, whatever happened to my daughter happened that night, because she would not stay away from me or her kids. We talked every day, 24/7. She didn't care if I was at work. If I didn't answer my cell phone, she was calling me. The son's father, I feel like what happened that Sunday would have happened that Saturday, because when she was here, he bugged her all that Saturday to come to Anderson. I've told them that she had him in block that whole week. He couldn't get in touch with her. He hadn't seen his son. And when she unblocked him that Saturday, he pretty much just bugged her the whole day. He had to get her to Anderson. He just kept going till he got her to Anderson. And I feel like he had it all set up, because it's just, no, who vanishes like that without a trace. I feel like some time had been taken to set everything up. I feel like the phone calls that she was getting, the text messages that she was getting, all that played a role in it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have a message from him where he said, I was getting some of this same text messages too. So I have that. They have ignored that. They have ignored the fact that when he called that Sunday night and said, have you talked to Lex? And I'm like, no. Lex supposed to be at home in her bed. She left here at noon that day, and she went home. She said she had to get her daughter situated for school, and she was going to bed. She said, "Ma, I'm just tired. I'm exhausted. I want to go home and get in my own bed." So she left here at noon that Sunday, and when I felt like she should be home, I called her. So around 3 o'clock, I called her, and she was in her bed. She was in her bed, and that's all I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I video chat her just to see that she was actually at home in her bed. And I was okay once I saw that she was in her bed.
Yes.
Then when he called at 7:30 asking me, "Mom, have you talked to Lex?" No, I haven't talked to Lex since she told me she was in her bed, and I could see she was in her bed. I didn't even know Lex had left her house. And he was like, "Well, she said she was coming down there, and I got the kids with me, and she's supposed to be following me over my mama's house." And just that quick, he changed from following him to his mom's house to coming down here. Lex would have told me that she was coming down here, and it didn't make sense that she would have been coming back down here. The next day, it was school day. Her daughter had to go to school. She wouldn't have been coming back down here. I didn't look into what he was saying at that moment, but like people say, what made you change how you felt about him? I said he changed his colors too soon. He went from wanting to talk to me every day on video chat, crying in the phone, talking about this can't be happening to his baby mama. I miss her. I want her back. My son need her, to literally hating me and her and bashing me and her on the internet. So I tell people he changed his colors too soon.
Okay.
And it gave me time to reflect. And, like I said, I wasn't in the best of health when it first took place. But when I went back and started thinking about a lot of things that took place, I said, he did it. He did it. And he only got close to me to make me want me to believe that he didn't have anything to do with it. And that was the whole reason for the crying in the phone and me looking at him boo-hooing in the phone. And I'm like, no, there's no way he could have done this to my child. But then at the same time, you was abusive to her. You have told her, I've heard him, and like I told him not long ago, because he wanted to talk to me about 2 weeks ago, and I told him, I've heard you say to her, "Bitch, I will murk you." I've heard you say that. So, you have messages, conversations between them two, where he's telling her, "You better be lucky that I'm on this GPS monitor, because I will murk your ass." And him actually saying that to her on the phone, and he didn't know that a lot of times when they have these arguments that I would be right there and I would hear the stuff that he would say to her. And so, and we've all discussed this with Detective Fowler, and it's like they were so gung-ho at setting out to prove that she was just needing a break from life, and that me and her were in cahoots together with me helping her run off.
Mm.
And I'm like, these people are crazy. And I'm like, what black female, what any female would? And I'm telling them she knew nothing about McCormick.
Mm.
Where her car was found. She knew nothing about McCormick. And I'm like, so y'all telling me that she just literally got out of the safety of a vehicle that had gas in it, no mechanical issues, ran like a brand new car. She didn't have no issues with her car. Her cell phone, her keys, her purse, everything in the car, and she just got out. If you're gonna take a break, if you feel, why not leave the kids with me and say, Mom, I just need to get away for a minute.
Yeah.
Can I leave the kids with you and go in her car? That's why I feel like it never happened. And I told them, y'all gonna realize when it's too late, when y'all done let leaves dry up, evidence get pushed away, and all because and I had the captain sitting next to me in a meeting telling me, I just hope and pray that she's returned. I feel like she's out there somewhere roaming around, and that she's gonna pop up. And I'm looking at y'all, you got the captain, you got the sheriff, you got the detectives, you got the lieutenant, everybody sitting at the table with us, telling us that they believe she's just gonna show back up. And I'm like, we all know how these missing person cases turn out. And this is what y'all want me to believe. That never happened. This never happened. I feel like whatever happened to my daughter took place that night, and y'all are not doing anything about it.
Let me ask, as far as the car, when it was recovered in McCormick, how long from when you realized she was missing or she was reported missing to the time that car was found, and how did it get found?
It was found because when she was reported missing on, let's see, the first she was reported missing.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I said, that Sunday night I knew something was wrong immediately. I knew something wasn't right. But I've always been told you have to wait 48 hours to report a person missing. That the first, my sister, she was like, forget this. I'm just going to go ahead and report her missing. She reported her missing about 9 a.m. that morning. So then once it hit the news that she was missing, post on Facebook, it had hit the news. And then the owner of the property reported seeing the car once he saw it on the news, and they said the car had been sitting there. They couldn't remember either that Sunday or Monday. That's how long the car had been sitting there on that property. I never knew the exact location or where it was found, but I'm hearing that it was a rural country area that you would have to know about, know that area to even, be there, or even park a car there. And I'm stressing to them that she knew nothing about McCormick. I don't know nothing about McCormick.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So she doesn't, or she wouldn't have any interest or reason to be in McCormick for anything, correct? Especially in that area.
None at all.
Okay. Yeah,
None at all.
because I kept seeing that, like obviously, because I just have to read through what everything's that's been posted or talked about in the news and things, and they were showing how that car ended up, and it was again a rural area. I don't know the exact location, but that's what they were saying. And I was just like, I just find that highly strange and unlikely that she or anybody that she would have associated with, unless she had family or friends that lived down that way, that she would have ended up in that area. There's just I don't foresee that taking place. Okay.
Her son's father knows the area. He has friends that live in the area. I'm hearing that there was a hair bonnet found on the ground near her vehicle, and I said, okay, hair bonnet on the ground, and you telling me she just walked away from the safety of her vehicle? She's not going to do that. If there's a hair bonnet on the ground, and in the video you see the hair bonnet on her head when she was at 7-Eleven. Now, if I drop something, I'm gonna pick it up.
Yes, yes.
Something like that, you're gonna pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a struggle taking place,
Correct. Yeah,
it makes more sense is why it was left, right?
it does. I mean, that makes sense to me. Correct. Yeah.
I just felt like from the very beginning, if you talk to Anderson County, the story it never changes. Um, I don't feel like they're helping at all.
Okay. And see, and that's the reason that we do what we do now, right? Because it gives the family the chance. There's no, we don't edit it. It's just raw. Other than taking out whatever needs to be taken out, but we give you that opportunity, or every family member, to put that story out there the way that it's actually happened, because that's what people need to know. Because it breaks my heart for you. It breaks my heart for all the families that we go into. But that first 48 hours that within this time
Critical.
frame where this stuff happens is critical, right? I mean, they even have shows about it. Literally, I know it's kind of cliche, but the first 48 hours is really truly the most important. Now, and then and that's another thing too. A lot of people believe that you do have to wait 48 to 72 hours before somebody missing, and that's just kind of one of those urban myth type things. And I try to stress that to everybody, and especially people that'll be listening to your story, that if you think something is wrong, you can report that immediately. Now, if anybody tells you not to do something, they're not going to take that report. You need to obviously call. I mean, you can just keep calling until that thing until it gets reported, right? Because it's critical. But I do want to ask. So once the car was found and Anderson County started working this investigation, or started doing what they were doing, what were the processes and like the steps they were taking after that, like from then up until this point, kind of what's been going on?
What I think has been going on,
Yes,
nothing,
ma'am.
nothing, absolutely nothing. I did a polygraph back in November,
Hmm.
on November 30th. They said my polygraph was inconclusive, where they didn't see no change in my reactions from any question that they asked me.
Hmm.
So I didn't understand the polygraph. First time I ever taken one. But I was upset by the fact that the questions that they had the polygrapher to ask me was whether or not I have been in touch with her since they have found her car on the 2nd of February. Whether we have been in touch via email, phone calls, text messages, all that. Y'all have her 2 phones, and she left here with no money. She didn't have any money.
Hmm.
Where's a phone that she can call me on or anything? They asking me if I helped put her car in McCormick. They asked if I was assisting her in her disappearance, all that. Those are the questions that I was asked. So I feel like at this point, if y'all have went from January 30th
Hmm.
up until now and you still feel that way, you haven't done anything.
Now, okay, so once they discovered the car, or they went and their car was recovered, were dogs utilized? Were drones? Was there any waterways that were scanned with sonar? Anything like that you
They
know of?
told us her vehicle was processed, and the only prints they seen in the car was um, hers. The only prints that were found in her vehicle was hers. And I told them my prints should have been in that car. Um, she has a cousin here.
Hmm.
Her prints should have been in that car. My daughter sent her cousin that lives down here where we live to her car over 20, 30 times because she was looking for something, and she kept sending her back and forth, and found in the car.
Hmm.
Her children prints should have been in the car. Their prints wasn't in the car. Then I get a message from somebody saying that he had assistance from a cousin who said that he got in the trunk of her car, and that he got in the trunk, from the trunk to the back seat to the front seat, and had a gun on her, and that he wiped down the trunk, the back seat, and the passenger side. And I said, well, now that makes sense as to why only her prints was found in the car.
Okay.
They have ignored that. Um, I received some text messages. I had somebody to reach out to me who wanted to help. Okay, so they put a female on him. Later, the female come back and sent me some text messages, conversations between her. He pretty much said my daughter was gone. He said, "Man, she's gone," and I know how he talked.
Yeah.
Man, she's gone. She was trying to take my son from me. Me and my cousin did some shit and they ain't got no proof. I sent those messages to Detective Fowler and I said, TJ has an iPhone. Can't y'all search the iPhone? You know, you got iCloud. I don't know too much about iPhones, but my daughter had one. Mm-hmm. And I've asked people about the iPhone who has one. They say you can never delete those messages. That somewhere in that phone is stored.
Correct, yeah. And all the data will be on that too, as far as locations where they've been.
So I'm telling them, can y'all search? If y'all don't believe that he texted this, can y'all search his search his phone and see if he actually sent those messages that I'm getting saying that him and his cousin did some shit and y'all don't have no proof and that she was gone. And how I know that he said this about his son, because the anger he had towards my daughter is now directed towards me, because now I have his son. Mm-hmm. I have his son now. So he thought he was in the clear once he got rid of her. Lex was no longer a threat to taking his son. But then I filed for custody for both of her children. What I feel like has taken place is the fact that she wasn't planning to run off and want a new life without her children. Her kids was everything to her. Mm-hmm. She had planned to move to Atlanta, all in 1 week's time frame. She sent Atlanta Housing Authority an email on the 23rd, and I have that. Mm-hmm. I have that if you need to see it. She sent an email on the 23rd. She described in great detail of the abusive relationship between her. She sent pictures of herself, conversations between him and her, the things that he would say to her. That was on the 23rd, and that was on a Sunday. 23rd was on a Sunday. On the 25th, she sat in her caseworker's office at Greenville Housing Authority. They were on a 3-way call with the management of the property where she was living at, along with Atlanta Housing Authority in Atlanta. They got her approved to vacate her apartment and move to Atlanta by noon on the 23rd.
Dang.
They told her that she can start moving on the 28th. And that Sunday she was gone.
No, I agree. Like I said, everything that you're saying makes perfect sense, right? So the biggest thing, like I said, I mean, we'll do anything. And when I tell you that we'll do anything to help you that we can whatsoever, I'm more than mean that, right? I mean, we've got access to cadaver dogs. We've got access to trailing dogs, drones. I do a lot of diving, side scan sonar, waterway type work. I mean, we'll do anything that we can to help you out with that. Like I said, the biggest thing that we have to do first is getting the story out there, because there's so many people, and because the awareness has to be there, right? If people, you know, and sometimes the story gets not, and I'm not saying from your side, but sometimes these stories, when they get released initially, they get trickled down and diluted to a fraction of what they are, right? So the truth is out there. It just has to be found, and that's what we do. We want to provide that platform to find that for you.
I'm just hoping that somebody with a heart,
correct,
who is willing to talk, that knows something, speak up. You know, because there ain't no way they possibly did all this and nobody else knows about it.
Somebody somewhere knows something that I don't have any doubt in my mind about that.
Beltonwood Apartments. Okay. She went to Beltonwood Apartments right after leaving the gas station.
Okay.
The police showed us footage from traffic cams showing where she went to Beltonwood Apartments right after leaving the gas station. the timestamp was at 7:30. So around the same time he's calling me, she's 5 minutes from that gas station in Beltwood Apartments. He tried to act panicky about the fact that she sped around him. Well, her car insurance was in my name for that reason. She drove fast, so nobody, that was not unusual to me or any other person that knows how she drives. That was the reason why her insurance is in my name, because she was a high risk driver. So that's the comment he made when he called me initially. Okay. We found out that her vehicle was spotted on traffic cams leaving Beltwood Apartments at 7:30. Okay. Then her car was leaving Beltwood Apartments again at 8:50. I don't believe she was in control of her own vehicle at that time.
Okay.
I say that because she didn't know nobody in Beltonwood. And one day he called and he was like, "Mom, I found out that Lex went," but I had already asked him, and it's like he forgot. I found out that Lex had went in the Beltonwood Apartments. Who does she know down there? And I said, that's the question I had asked you. But he had connection to Beltonwood. So we decided one weekend to go out there and pass out missing person flyers throughout the complex. And my granddaughter had showed us an apartment that her mom had went to. And I'm like, so we need to, knock on their door. The girl that came to the door told us that she didn't know my daughter. She didn't know my daughter. We talked to her a long time, a few minutes. Then found out after the fact, after we told Detective Fowler them all about it, he then turned around and tell us that he found out that the girl that told us that she didn't know my daughter was actually cousin.
Oh, well, that that didn't happen by mistake. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and it's things like that, little stories or inconsistencies within the story that pop up and stuff. And as a mother and as a family, I mean, obviously, and that gut feeling that you have, if you have a feeling that something took place, 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, that's kind of where it needs to be led towards. As especially the cell phones and then the car being there, it doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm sure it doesn't make any sense to you as far as why it would have just been there, unless there was some sort of foul play or bad intentions on somebody's part. Correct?
Right. And you can go on YouTube and see he did a phone call interview with one YouTuber. I can send you the link.
Came back, or they found out that was his cousin at the apartments there.
Yeah, they did come back, because even Detective Fowler told us that he had a feeling about her. So I guess he looked into it or whatever, and he found out that she is his cousin. And I said, with Lex together about 2-3 years, surely you met her sometime and another. And my granddaughter pointed out the fact that her mom has been there in those apartments, because we took my granddaughter with us, and we was like, what apartment have you seen your mom go to? Because Detective Fowler said that her vehicle was picked up on traffic cams going. He said the traffic cam, you can see the vehicle leaving from the apartments, not going in. So he said that happened about 7 or 8 times over that month of January. So I asked my granddaughter, has she ever been in the car with her going to those apartments? And she showed us that apartment. And, ain't no coincidence that she just, what a coincidence that she tell us that she don't know my daughter. My granddaughter said that she have seen her pull up at those apartments, leave her in the car, and go in that apartment.
Yeah.
and then to come back and tell us that she's a relative. We feel like whatever took place at Beltonwood Apartments. I feel like the only reason why she left her apartment that Sunday, because like we heard him bugging her about coming to Anderson that Saturday. So that's why we believe that what took place that Sunday would have taken place that Saturday.
Okay.
And I feel like when she left her apartment Sunday, knowing that she had already told me that she was exhausted and she wanted to go home and get in her own bed, get Naomi prepared for school the next day. The only way she left her apartment is that he continued to bug her about wanting to see his son. And she probably said something like she didn't have the gas for that, and if you bring my son, I'll give you gas. And that was the whole reason why they met at 7-Eleven gas station.
Okay.
We believe that he set her up. I believe he had help only because of the GPS monitor, but he had to act fast because she was moving to Atlanta. And I tell Detective Fowler them she was moving. She was making big changes in her life. She was leaving him out of her life. She wanted her son away from his father. She did not want her son to grow up like him. So all that people, it's a lot of rumors and speculation. Oh, she was running off because she was robbing drug dealers. She was not that type of person. She ran off because I took $100K from somebody. She never did none of that.
Yeah.
So all the speculations and rumors, we come to find out that it was my granddaughter's father who put all that out. And we figured out who was doing all the negativity on social media because of the way he talked, the way he spelled.
Yeah.
So a lot of the messages came out, and it was certain words, the way he spelled certain words, and he still spelled those certain words like that. That's how we figured out it was him. So all he did was, put a hindrance in the investigation. It's all over the place. It's nothing but a social media circus. That's what I call it. A circus. They have made a joke out of my daughter's disappearance.
Yes, ma'am. And I like I said, I just want to assure you that everything that we do it the most professional way that we can, right? So we only report strictly off of the facts of the case that are from there. So the rest of the rumors and speculation and things that float around on Facebook, we don't buy into any of that. Okay. And that's why I want to make sure that that we will truly do everything we can to get the true, like, actual story out there so that people can hear it. Because then there's also times where, because of the videos that we've put out, that people have seen them and then they've came forward. They would have never came forward had they not have been. And if they reached out to us or they reached out directly to law enforcement, whatever the case may be behind that, right? Sometimes they don't want to do that. But then they see it and they're like, okay, well, this gives us a different avenue to where we can be like, all right, well, we'll relay this information and then we can pass it on and something can go about that. Because our biggest thing, without a doubt, is wanting to help you locate your daughter. That's it. I mean, that's our biggest, the biggest thing that we're most focused on. So anything that we can do to be a part of that, to help that take place, that's what we're going to do. Is there anything in particular, though, that you would like to see us do or that we could help you do? I mean, other than what we already normally do, just like I said, I just want to make sure if there's any requests that you have, I'll do everything I can to try to honor those.
There was an area that I've been focusing on since the beginning, and I can't get to it. Like, I've looked at the map, and we've been out. Like, when I was out there searching for my daughter, I still had drain tubes in me, trying my best to walk those areas. But it was one particular area that's been on my mind, and I can't get to it. It's right there. It's like a campground in Lincolnton, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. That ain't nothing you got to do right now, by no means. Now, once they found her car and then the bonnet that was left on the ground, did they find anything else belonging to her from that area that you know of?
Nothing. They said that they searched the area, but they didn't search the area where they found her vehicle until like a day or two later.
Oh, good Lord.
Right.
Wow. I didn't. Dang. I was thinking that when they found it, they kicked everything off that day. So there was a time delay between when the car was found and then what
Right.
started taking place.
Right. And is the only one that made a statement as to something like he asked her to bring his son, and that she said that get her a little more time. She just want to spend a little more time with him, like she knew she was leaving and not coming back. And I said, she never said that. He's the only one that said she said that. Detectives, I tell them, y'all move different, because it's a missing person. She's labeled as a missing person. And I said, but if you stop looking at my daughter as just a missing person who wanted to take a break from life and realize what it really is, that somebody probably has murdered her, you would move different. And I told them that the same day we had a meeting with them.
No, I kind of, I mean, like I said, I sympathize with you, right? I don't understand, or I'll never understand that pain that y'all been through going through that. But we have helped. I mean, we've played a part now in locating 10 or 11 different people, or different loved ones, whether they be alive or deceased. And the car being abandoned where it was at, out in the middle of nowhere, that's not where you go if you're trying to just disappear. Not disappear and start over. That's I don't believe that for a second. I mean, maybe there's something out there that they know that I won't know about. Whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that's impossible, but the fact of where the car was on a pretty much abandoned back road. No,
that's what somebody
do
would do if you're trying to ditch your vehicle.
Yeah, if you were trying to ditch the vehicle, or it was either vehicle was placed there and abandoned, or if it was somewhere out like that, maybe it would have been a wreck, but it wasn't a wreck because everything was in good standing. Now the phones, I do want to ask you about that. So you said they have both of her cell phones?
They have both. Right now, Detective Fowler, the only thing he has told us about the phone is that it seemed like someone took the time and went through her phone and deleted certain things. Because I told them, I said, there's a particular number that kept calling her that Saturday, and she called the person a devil. Is that number in her call log for that Saturday? He said, no, there's nothing. But my thing is this: calls in and out are going to be in the phone records. They haven't said anything about her phone records.
Yeah.
The only thing they're telling us is that calls and messages were deleted out her phone, and that's it. And Detective Fowler has an iPhone, and I let him know from talking to other people with iPhones, things that come through or sent out from an iPhone is stored in iCloud. Have you searched that? I didn't get a response to that email.
Yeah.
I emailed him again about 2 weeks ago, breaking it down of why I felt the way I felt. He hasn't responded yet.
Yeah. As far in on the cell phone stuff, I mean, those things are huge. They're key. Because there's a company out there that is called Cellbrite, Cellbrite, and that's the equipment, or one of the main equipment providers that law enforcement uses as far as extracting that data. Now, even if they send a search warrant to whether it's AT&T, Verizon, whoever the service provider was, when they send that, obviously the call records come back with that, but the call records, the text messages, but they can also send those search warrants to iCloud if the last known of her email address was known that she used on the iCloud. And when you go into that iCloud, it'll pull all that data back and it'll give you last known locations, even and again, some of it depends on the way it's set up in the settings. If she had it to where, after how long a message or picture was saved, it'll delete it after X amount of time frame. But then it could be set on indefinitely, and all that erased data, regardless, would be that you would have to have a search warrant normally to pull it out, would already be in the iCloud. So getting in the iCloud itself is a huge thing. These cell phones are key factors in all of this stuff because numerous cases that we've been involved in, they go through, and whether it be a Gmail or iCloud account, they both do track my device, right? So the key or the big thing behind that, or what well, not necessarily enjoy, but when we love it when people can get that information for it, is because that cell phone, as long as it's not with somebody other than the person it's belonging to, it tracks them just like a GPS coordinate. And you hear people talk about cell phone pings. You got, hard and soft pings. You got, 25,000 meter radius pings. And you've got pings that'll put you within walking distance or 2 foot, right? But if the cell phone is on that person, or if they're linked into a car, like a Bluetooth in a car, like all of those have IMEI signals, and all that can be tracked. It's every bit of it. And they produce those signals. And it's just the faster that you go in and request or send these search warrants off to these things, the faster they can get it. Same thing with like if they send search warrants off to Facebook, Snapchat. All of those have GPS tracking coordinate or capabilities on them as well. And if you have those and they send off these search warrants and they get that information and data back, you run it through that program, it's going to pull up a map and it'll show you exactly. I mean, you might as well just take like a GPS collar that you put on a cat or something and put it on your wrist, and it's the same exact thing. I mean, the capabilities are there. Even with the
Right,
cell phones being turned off, they can still be tracked now.
right. And see, he I just don't get Detective Fowler. I don't. And I just feel like we are in a position where we have no help. Like, what is law enforcement really doing? Because
Mm-hmm.
when I tell him that I found out this and that about iPhones, he just ignores me. And has an iPhone. Actually, Lex gave him the iPhone that he has, and I told Detective Fowler how I knew that those text conversations they had with this female who reached out to him, because I told him that he's a womanizer. Um, she also has a video. She didn't give it to me, but she described the video. And I knew about the video. So I said, well, she's not lying about that, because the video that she described has something to do with his current pending charges where he's already facing life.
Mm-hmm.
And he pistol whipped a woman in this video, and she described this video. His sent her that video too. He started threatening her, so she done disappeared.
Yeah.
I never had a chance to get the video.
Um, and and I'm sure you've already looked into that, and I don't need to know it, but is there anybody that she knows that you know of that would be able to obtain that from her, or that you think would be able to get that from her?
The person that had originally gave it to me, that she sent it to give to me,
Mm.
they've been trying to locate her to get that video.
Okay, good, good. Like I said, I just want to make sure somebody was out there trying to do it.
And I knew the video existed because I saw it on my daughter's phone. And I told Lex, I saw trouble behind that woman.
Mm.
And sure enough, 2 weeks later, he shot up her trailer, trying to kill her and three other guys that was in her trailer. And
Mm.
that's how he has the current pending charges of 4 attempted murder charges, along with 6 other pending charges because of that. And he went to jail, I think, December December 3rd of 2020. My daughter got him out. She sold her prized possession, uh, old school car.
Yeah.
She sold a SS Chevy for $30,000.
Mm.
She had she had got back pay or unemployment, and she actually went broke behind him.
Yeah.
She paid 2 separate lawyers $20,000 each to get him out on bond. He's just out on bond.
Mm. And so he's out on bond out of South Carolina, or
South Carolina, his pending charge.
okay.
And he looks at being out on bond as if he's been found not guilty. And I actually helped her with that. You
Yeah.
know, by the time she got ready to get him out on bond, she was broke.
Hmm. Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't even know what to really make of that, I mean, if he's still on
He's
if
on
so
he's
he's
on
on
that GPS monitor.
okay. Now, and I know this sounds like a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So the day the GPS locations that he had on the day that she was reported missing, like once they went to the store or the exchange took place and then she passed him, like what does that not put him, like what routes does he take? Is it similar? Is it different?
Yeah, separate route. He claimed she went around him, sped up to the light, and made a quick right.
Mm-hmm.
He said he kept going. He didn't bother to chase after her because he had, by this time, the kids was in the car with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't want to put the kids at risk and chase them behind her, which he drive like that too. So I felt like that was an excuse. If it bothered you enough to call me, why not bother you enough to go see where she going?
Yeah.
So, but that was the excuse that he gave. Now my granddaughter said that he went back out that night. His mom said he stayed in. The detective said that his GPS put him in. It's all a lie, that he went back out and he didn't come back until the next day. So Detective Fowler say it's not unusual. It's not that it didn't happen, hasn't happened before. You know, they just don't know whether or not he took his GPS monitor off.
Mm-hmm.
But his GPS location showed him there.
Okay.
But in my email that I sent him about 2 weeks ago, I said, can you, obviously someone thought about this. It was thought out, well planned out before it was executed. I said, can you search his GPS locations and see if there's a particular area that he may have visited
Mm-hmm.
before her disappearance, a week or two before her disappearance, to see if that would narrow down a search on where she could be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of what I had wrote in that email that I sent him 2 weeks ago, and he has not responded to my email.
Okay. Yeah, well, I can assure you, you're probably you're definitely gonna hear from once this goes out. I guarantee there's gonna be a ton of people come in that are gonna be trying to help you. I mean, wouldn't you think so, John?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of attention on this one.
Because and as far as you saying, you're not sure what the police department's done or what they have done or what they haven't done, that type of thing. That's the issue that we run into basically with all of these, right? And I say that as I did right at 10 years of law enforcement. John did about what 13, 14.
Yeah.
So we get how that goes, and I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for anybody on that, right? Like if everything was being done the way that it should be done, or in the manner that the time frame that these things should take place, there would be no reason for us to do this. But the fact that there's 120, 130,000 cold cases, only 1% of them ever get solved, they get to that point because of certain things just not happening. Now, granted, a lot of it is people that know stuff that aren't saying things that are detrimental and could easily put you in a location or a general area of where you should be looking or where your daughter may be. God forbid, worst case scenario, that she is no longer here. Or even if she was here, somebody would know that information.
I feel like that's the only thing that would keep her from me and her children.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and I believe that as well. Like I said, I try to be as optimistic and hopeful as possible. But and again, I say that, but I'm also a realist, right? I understand certain things with that. Is the same way that you do as well, right? You're a mother, and the instincts and feelings that you have around things are going to be things. I don't care if somebody has $100 billion piece of equipment. You're going to know and feel things. That's just the way it works, right? So
and they actually said that they believe that this, they wouldn't say it directly in my face, but they would talk around me to certain people. But Detective Fowler actually thought that this was a publicity stunt, that me and my daughter were in cahoots of me helping her with this. And I'm like, are they crazy? Are
they
they
were
serious?
they were saying that y'all had done this for publicity.
Right.
Wow, I mean that's a pretty bold accusation to make. Not saying that you're saying it, but I'm saying that they told you that for them to come to you and say, "I think y'all are just doing this for publicity." Like,
and
I couldn't do that.
That's what hurt me so bad when I was asked. Imagine that she's been gone since January 30th, and here it is, November 30th, and I'm asked these questions on a polygraph. Like, y'all really think this?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's wild.
So I'm like, they haven't done anything because they really do think that me and my daughter were in cahoots together. And then he said a lot of times he would say that it had something to do with me and her conversation. I'm like, let me go back and look at me and her conversation to see what in the hell is he really getting out of our conversation. So I go back and I look at our conversation. And me and her conversations are basically talking about her going on different photo shoots. She said, "Mom, I'm scared, but I'm just gonna have to, let that go because I'm just gonna have to go for it." She said, "If I go on a photo shoot and somebody tries something, what can I do about it?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I'm just gonna have to get me some protection when I get my tax money."
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm like, she's talking about different photo shoots and stuff. So what the hell is they talking about? Like she just wanted to run off and we got some kind of publicity stunt going on. She didn't need no publicity stunt. She had almost 30,000 followers.
Yeah.
And she showed me an email from Instagram where Instagram was going to start paying her as an Instagram model. It said employment effective immediately in the email from Instagram. Facebook was getting ready to start paying her where she had a fan page that Facebook created.
Mm-hmm.
And all she had to do was start going live on Facebook. And she said, "Mom, I'm just going to create me a TikTok. I'm going to create me a YouTube." She said, "I'm just going to go hard." She said, "Because I want my kids to grow up not wanting for anything."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, all this about running off. Yeah, she was going to run off with her kids. She wanted to get away from him.
Yeah.
With her kids. And when I tried to confront him about things that he kept throwing at me, and finally I took the time to sit down and look through me and her conversations, he wouldn't even respond or answer the phone. So I never got to get that off my chest.
Yeah.
Because it would be in the meetings, he would just throw different stuff from me and her conversations at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Let me just go back through me and her conversation. And and then he said something about in one of the meetings, he said something about, this was back in April. He said in a picture, she sent you a picture showing you a condom. And I said, I don't know nothing about that. It's in your conversation. I'm like, okay. That when he did that, that's what made me go back to look at me and her conversation. And when I looked at the date of the conversation, it was January 21st. I had just had surgery January 20th.
Mm-hmm.
I said, do they not realize how much pain I was in and how I was drugged up, on pain medication? And I don't even know what the hell she was talking about.
Yeah.
And he said me and her had a long conversation, and I saw what me and her did, have a long conversation. And I don't know what she was saying. It was almost 28 minutes, and I cannot tell you what that conversation was about.
Yeah.
But he hasn't heard me defend myself about the stuff he comes at me with because he don't answer the phone or anything.
Oh, I can assure you he's going to be answering the phone after this goes up. I can assure you, because the last one that we put up was seen by over 400,000 people. So I guarantee he'll be here. Somebody will be back in touch with you for sure on that, which is a good thing, right? I mean, I don't think it should have came to that. Without a doubt, you should have already, if this has been going since January, I don't know.
It's to the point
It blows my
where
mind sometimes.
I received a message yesterday, giving me the attorney general contact information. And I was going to reach out to the attorney general, but I asked the question first. Okay, when they suggested that I reach out to the attorney general, I'm like, why? What for? What can he do? They said that the attorney general could take over the investigation and do something about this. And I'm like, okay, so and they said, I know of one particular case where The police department refused to charge a suspect in a case, and the attorney general took over the investigation. And after 3 years of them not doing nothing, the attorney general arrested the person and charged them with murder. I'm like, okay. So it has gotten to that point because they have made me feel this entire year that they're not really doing anything about my daughter. And I do believe she's not just a missing person. She's not just missing.
No, I believe it. And another thing too on the attorney general. So that is true. I mean, and we've referred people to them, and they've helped in taking over in some investigations. We've passed that way as well. But another thing that a lot of people don't take into account that they could do is reaching out to congressmen, your state senators, even up to the governor's office, right? Even if it's the lieutenant governor, and they have constituents or they have people on their staff that answer the phones that, excuse me, that deal specifically with constituents. They're the people that elect them and put them into office, regardless if you voted for them or not. It doesn't matter. But when I tell you, like the higher that you can get the case looked at, right? Once you start getting attorney general's office involved, once you start getting congressmen, senators, the governor, once you get that done, and once you get it sent up to the FBI field office in Greenville, Homeland Security office, once they start looking into it, and Department of Justice looks into it, then that's where
I've called the FBI in Greenville.
Yeah.
They are familiar with the case, very familiar with the case. And the person that they told me has been in direct contact with Anderson County hasn't even called me back. I left messages twice.
Okay.
I've talked to 2 people before that. They are aware of the case only because of, I think, Agent Aaron. I can't remember her name. Aaron, I think it is. But that's how they are familiar with the case. They said that they would like to schedule a sit-down meeting, and I never got that.
Okay.
Never got it. I called twice to the FBI agent that they said was familiar with the case. She never returned my call. Okay. And it gets to the point where, I don't like to keep calling people. Like, y'all know that I called you. I done left messages. I'm sure your colleagues done told you I've talked to them, and you don't call back.
No, I can understand, especially when they tell you to call and then you call and you don't hear nothing back. And it's not your job as a family member of a victim in a crime, whether it be, a missing persons or, some foul play was involved. It's still a crime or something that's investigated by law enforcement. And you shouldn't have to be the one that's calling them, right? They should be reaching out to you. Like I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I understand the frustration. I understand the frustration that you've got as far as not feeling like things have been done or the things that have been done in a timely manner. And just
I feel like I have
so many questions
on more searches than they have.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to downplay your case at all. I mean, they're all extremely important. We treat each one of them that we work with just as important as the next, but that just seems to be the common theme amongst all these people. We've been all over the country doing this, and I hate it. Every time I hear it, the one thing that I will say all these cases have in common is it's not, a lot of people try to say, well, it's drug use, or there's people on the run, or it's people with mental health conditions, or it's accidents. And, and obviously it's going to be some way, shape, or fashion related to that. But the biggest thing is it's just the lack of reaction to, once somebody's found or determined to be missing, right? And I get it.
They start to say that she was mentally ill, crazy. You can't have it both ways.
That's true.
You can't say that somebody is mentally ill, crazy, out their mind, but at the same time, good enough to hide from everybody
for a year with nothing to leave everything behind. That's a lot harder than people say.
No clothes, no nothing.
In the winter, at that.
Exactly.
And that's not going to be the place that you're going to want. If you're going to do that, you're not going to start out in the middle of nowhere and in winter with nothing to your name and then try to do that. I mean, yeah, can it be done? Absolutely, 100%. But I mean, that's something like
She's
you have
not
to
that.
be.
She's very particular about how she looks.
Yeah.
She's not going no clothes.
No.
The person is gone like that. No social security number activity, no name activities nowhere, no nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Her identity, driver's license in the car, everything. She has nothing. Nothing. So how can a person make moves with nothing of their identity? And when I feel like it's no activity on your identity, that's because you're no longer here.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, 99% of the time, that's the way that it is. And over a year, though, with absolutely nothing, even the best mess up and if they do try to disappear like that, mess up and get spotted somewhere, leave a trail. It's, and okay, and the people are going to bring up the anomalies like, well, there were people that were missing for 25, 30 years. Well, yeah, well, they also went missing in the 60s or 70s. And now is when they're starting to get caught because there's a camera everywhere. Everything's monitored. Um, I mean, I can't even tell how many stores you go to that don't even accept cash. So you got to have some kind of card activity.
And another thing, they try to say, oh, it's not really about the money, but that was a red flag for me.
What's that?
His family made a big stank on social media because they assumed I claimed my daughter's children. Of course, it was around tax time last year. So they going on and on about me claiming my daughter's children. Never happened. She had already had me to fill out her taxes for her on the 25th. And so, but what caught my attention is, why are you trying to claim your son on your taxes as if, unless you knew my daughter wasn't coming back to file her own taxes?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to claim your son?
No, there are a million questions. So what I'm gonna do from there, right? And I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I've enjoyed thoroughly speaking with you. But I think right now, because I know you've got a ton of other information and things like that, but I know there's some stuff out there that doesn't need to be released that you know of, just for simply because only people that know exactly what happened would know that information, and I don't want to know it. John don't want to know it. I want you to be confident that you know that stuff. It wasn't released to us, and that when somebody comes forward and tells us something, because I'm gonna be working directly for you, right? So if I hear anything, if somebody messages me, contacts me with anything, I'm going to relay that information to you. And if it's crazy, it's crazy. If it's something that you think is like, okay, that might be something, you're going to be the one to be able to determine that, right? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what I'm going to do now. It's been an honor working with you or just talking with you, getting all this set up. I'm going to get this edited so we can get it posted. And then I think there's going to be a really good turnout on it as far as the information. Because like I told you, I don't care about none of the other stuff. Like, I ain't worried about no money. I'm not worried about anything like that. The only thing I do this for is to try to get answers to these cases for families that they just don't think that they will ever get those answers. Right. That's all that's important to me.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And the guy that's with us, John, I'm partnered with him. He does all my podcasting stuff, all that stuff. So that's what he's doing. So I'm sure he'll cover an episode on this as well. But I'm just letting you know we're going to get it together. And if you need anything at all, just be back in contact with us. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.